Today's lesson is going to be about purpose and tone. So what is purpose and what is tone? So when a writer writes something, they always have in mind a specific purpose, and they might even think of a specific tone. Tone can actually sometimes help us figure out what the purpose is. But let's first look at purpose first. So there's three main types of purposes that you might see in a piece of writing. It could be to inform, persuade, or to entertain. Think for a moment about the book called The Hate U Give. The interesting thing about the book The Hate U Give is that it has a lot of real information, real life information. It has facts. And it also has a specific social issue that's at the center of the book. But the characters are fictional. Now think for a moment about the word fictional. What does fictional mean? Think for a moment about that. I'll give you a second. So fictional means that the characters are created. They're not real. Nonfiction is the opposite of fiction. So if I say a nonfiction book, we're talking about real people, real events. But here's the thing about The Hate U Give. There are a mixture of fake events, or rather created events. And there's also a mixture of real events mentioned in the book, especially at the end of the book. Towards the end of the book, one of the last few lines of the book talks about all the other times in our history as a society where profiling has ended the life of someone. But again, the book is fictional. Now, if we go back to the idea of purpose, inform, persuade, entertain. What is the primary purpose of The Hate U Give? Usually, a fictional story. Usually, the primary purpose of a fictional story is to entertain. In this case, The Hate U Give, its main purpose is, in fact, to entertain, but what's a close second purpose? If you thought inform or persuade, you're right. The idea of The Hate U Give is it was based on real life events. Angie Thomas, the writer of the book, in fact, you'll be reading an article about her for article number 2. Angie Thomas, she actually was encouraged to write this because of the events that was happening around. So if you look at the purpose of the book, it's entertain, but inform and persuade are close seconds. Inform, because the book is trying to inform the readers about the real issue of police brutality, police profiling. It's really trying to inform the reader about these things because, one, maybe the reader has never experienced these things before. The second purpose could also be persuade. It's trying to persuade us about, Star's viewpoint. And it's a really unique look at it because main character, it's first-person perspective. So we're seeing all these things from her viewpoint. What's the big thing that the story tries to persuade us about? Talking. If you've seen the movie, one of the things that's mentioned in the movie is don't let anyone make you quiet. And that's a big idea that keeps happening throughout the book. It's an opinion. It's an idea that is, don't do this, don't do that. If you hear words like that or hear words like you should or you shouldn't, chances are it's going to be persuasive. It's trying to persuade us to follow a specific cause. And in this case, not being quiet when we see things that are happening around us that we really should speak out about.